It is another big game day in Buffalo, Game 5 tonight. And while the series has become increasingly heated, it's just a continuation of a rivalry that's really been going since the very first Sabres game in the Odd. And this morning, Pete Gallivan has his unknown stories, where we're hearing from one of the original members of the Sabre staff. So this morning, we'll be calling it the unknown stories of Rip Simonick.
The rivalry all began with the Sabres' very first face-off, as the ceremonial puck was dropped between captains Floyd Smith of the Sabres and Jean Beliveau of Montreal. It was also the birth of the Blade.
Game number one was a long time ago, and as a boy growing up, like the old First Ward, 10 blocks from here, I had the dream come true.
And Rip Simonick has had a front row seat for all of it. He started as a stick boy with the old Buffalo Bisons, and when the Sabres were formed in 1970, he was hired as a member of the equipment staff, doing a lot of the grunt work behind the scenes. He rose through the ranks to the position of equipment manager and one of the main go-to guys for generations of players. Rip spent 50 years with the team, retiring in 2020, and over that half-century collected hundreds of stories and countless memories, many of them involving the Canadiens-Sabres rivalry, like in 1973, when the very young Sabres went up against a Canadiens team loaded with legends and future Hall of Famers, and they took them to 6 games.
Obviously, our first taste of the playoffs was against Montreal, when some of these guys, the French Connection, were on the team, and we took them a long way, and we found out that, when you're in a fight, Punch was the GM and coach, so, when you get knocked down, you got to get up. That's what the Sabres are doing now.
And another memory involves 2 of his all-time favorite players, both of which are in the Hall of Fame.
The 2 fastest skaters on the ice were in 3 o'clock in the afternoon for an 8 o'clock Hockey Night in Canada game, and Gilbert Perreault and Guy Lafleur. My job as the equipment manager, which I didn't have that much to do then, so what I would do is go and get their pot of coffee and get them an ashtray, a cigarette lighter, and bring a pack of cigarettes, and they would sit and smoke the whole pack, and then around 5 o'clock they'd end up getting done talking French. I didn't know what they were saying. I'm sure they were cutting me up, but other than that, they get on the ice, 2 fastest skaters on the ice. Outstanding, great competitors, great people.
And then there were the matchups against some of the all-time great personalities of the game.
One of the biggest was the year we played when Patrick Roy, the superstar Montreal goalie, and we just happened to have a superstar goalie too. So Patrick Roy always thought that Dominic cheated. So he would try to sneak in any way possible to get in and look at Dominic's equipment.
The Canadiens called a timeout and accused Dominic of wearing illegal equipment because the brand name on his pads violated league copyright rules. Well, Rip flipped the script on him because he saw that Roy's pads also violated the very same rule. He says that Patrick Roy and the entire Montreal bench had some choice words for him in French. Just a few of the many, many memories that live rent-free in Rip Simonick's mind.
But those are the things that you don't forget. They just etched in my mind.